And I think that Bravo is starting to realize too that they need that character now. They've seen how successful the first Cullen was, and then Cullen 2.0 with Sailing Yacht. I think they see how much fans attach to that, and they've started to incorporate those type of cast members more into their shows, because it is, I feel like people are really tired of negativity. And I think that having the focus be on a new group of really goofy, fun people, like Katie, I know lots of people that know her in the industry, and she's funny and she's goofy. And I think that we're going to see a totally different, a lot more like Daisy, I think, who's just kind of like goofy and doesn't take herself too seriously all the time and isn't there to make everybody feel bad about themselves, you know? And I'm excited about that. And I'm not saying that Hannah did that. I think Hannah did a really great job, and I've always loved watching her. And I know from people that, well, I've talked to her personally, but other people who've stayed in touch with her after filming with her, like Tiffany on her first season, Hannah's first season of Below Deck Med, they had a little bit of a back and forth for a while, but they're like best friends now. And Tiffany's due to have her first baby in July. And, you know, she's been talking back and forth with Hannah about parenting advice. And I mean, they're super close. And Tiffany has always said how much she loves Hannah. And even when you see that they had a little bit of back and forth on their seasons, where their relationship is now, that says a lot to me about who Hannah is, you know?
And what about, like, is there this chatter amongst like the new cast? Because I haven't seen, so I mean, I know online people are outraged, right? So that's what they're outraged about, Sandy and Malia being back, which to me, there was no question that Sandy was coming back. Like, I don't know, despite everything and all social media, I don't know. I think Bravo does, like, to your point, what they want. They're not gonna, you know, they watch.
Especially when every other tweet about the show is about the two of them. Like, why are they going to kill a golden goose off of the show if it's the most traffic that they've had ever in the history of any of their shows? I mean, genuinely think about it from a ratings perspective. So fans that are so outraged that they're returning need to look internally and realize that it was their doing for being as vocal as they were about those two. And if we want to stop that from happening again, dead silence about the two of them is the way to make the point.
I see your point on that. And that is what people are saying online, like, that they are not going to watch. I mean, that's what they're saying. Do you think that will really happen? I mean, they're saying that about The Bachelor with Chris Harrison and The Bachelorette. And I mean, I don't think that's necessarily happening.
I think that there will be a lot of people that will not watch. So I had this conversation with my co-host for the podcast, who's a huge Bravo fan in general, but a big fan of the Housewives. And she said that when, I want to say it was Lisa Vanderpump was taken off of the cast for whichever Housewives show she was
Beverly
on.
Hills.
Okay, that one. That the viewership dropped by like 500,000 because people were so angry that she was taken off of the show, and their viewership did plummet. So do I think that there will be a dip? Yes. Do I think that there will be a dip naturally because it's summer and people have their kids and they don't have the same normal schedule as they normally do, and we can actually go do shit this summer? Yes, I think that it will take a hit just because of that. Consider the fact that summer shows almost never get the level of viewership that fall and spring shows do because of the school routine, right? So that was upended last year because of the lockdowns and COVID. So this show itself, this particular part of the franchise, got more viewership than it's ever gotten because people didn't have other options for things to do in entertainment.
Which is unusual for COVID, because most shows went down. All the Housewives went down. I even think Below Deck, not Med, went down a little.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand why every show is down during COVID. That makes no sense to me. But the fact that this was up is a big thing.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, it's again, I think it's going to take a couple of hits for a couple of different reasons, but I feel like it doesn't make sense to me to punish the new cast members that should deserve the opportunity to prove themselves because of those two, you know, and I would love to see fan engagement go a much more positive direction instead of just trashing those two, because it's easy to do, trust me, to focus more on the new cast and letting them prove themselves to us, because I'm genuinely excited about this group more than I have been. I didn't expect to be wowed by this season of Below Deck Sailing Yacht, just because the first season of it was pretty underwhelming, I think. I'm excited about this cast. I'm genuinely excited. We have a Disney princess on there, which I think is awesome. Like, all kinds of things about this show I think are going to be really great elements. It bums me out that it comes on the tails of what happened last time. Again, Hannah has moved on. I think the rest of us have permission to move on. And let's all collectively turn this into a positive experience and watch a new cast that doesn't necessarily have to be tainted by what's already there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, it's not fair. It's their moment. And like, are the new cast, I mean, the one you know, or anyone else, like, have you heard anything like where they're upset? Like, not that they're on the show, but they're like, oh, I never would have done this if I knew it was like Malia and Sandy. Mind you, that's easy to say now that you've already done it. You know, like, I do think everyone still would have done it if they knew, because how could you pass this off if this really is, forget about being on TV and like your followers and being an influencer, like, yeah, it could get you jobs in the industry. It helps if you go and represent yourself well.
Totally. And I don't think any of them would have stepped away from it. No, it doesn't make sense to me that they would. And even from the conversations that I've had, I don't think it would have changed much of anything, because I believe it will be interesting to see what this captain does without Hannah as a foil. It'll be interesting to see, now that there isn't an arch nemesis, what that looks like. I think it'll be a totally different ball game. I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't think that Sandy is a terrible human. I think she does and says some really dumb shit. And I wish that she would not do that, because it makes it harder to root for her at all. I, on the other hand, don't feel the same way about the bosun. I know her personally and have worked with her, and I don't have any respect for her. And I understand why people feel the way that they do. But that doesn't mean that it should translate to the entire rest of the cast that hasn't even been given a chance yet.
How many charters have you been on with her, the bosun, who you don't want to mention?
I did a 2-week charter with her. So it was a freelance gig for me, and it was very last minute. And it was right as the promos for her show were dropping. So it was right as everybody was finding out that she was on the show. And it was a testament to what a self-absorbed ladder climber she was.
I mean, it's like the same theme, what I'm hearing between what you're saying, Captain Lee, Kate, and now Malia. Like, they all love this. Like, you saw a change in Malia, like when these promos were coming out, like, she loves the fame.
Yeah, and I think that especially when, look, I don't see that being a problem when you're a housewife. I feel like it's a problem when you run a job, when you are in a leadership role that requires teamwork. I feel like it's a completely different story, you know? And I think that Sandy made some poor judgment calls. I don't see her doing it out of malice the same way that I've seen others do it. And so I think that, and yes, she plays favorites, which I also disagree with. But again, I don't think she intentionally goes out of her way to be hurtful or to harm other people for the benefit of herself. I have seen others do it, you know, and I think that that's the difference. That I'm not saying that I'm going to cheerlead for her. I can't bring myself to do that necessarily. I'm just going to let it play out and see what happens.
Do you think, two things, do you think, to your point, Malia, and reporting Hannah, do you think that was like general concern and like you broke maritime law according to Sandy and Malia? Or do you think it was like, holy shit, this is my moment? This could be something.
The latter. I think she's just an opportunistic bitch. Like yeah, no, there's no other way to put that. I think it was an opportunity and she saw it and she did it. And it sucks. And it sucks for Hannah and it sucks for the viewers that were attached to Hannah. I don't know that Hannah would have come back after that season anyway. I think she was pretty much done with it anyhow. But to have a career like hers with a show like this ended that way was dramatic. And it was very much in a reality TV, vein. But I feel like she probably would have preferred a more graceful exit than that.